A long time ago, and in this galaxy, we used to say good things about Star Wars, and then the dark times came along. But now, there's a new hope. The Mandalorian delivers yet another fairly good episode. The strengths of Mandalorian, I would submit, again, I believe I mentioned it in the previous video, that its strength is in its simplicity. It's his basic story. He's a bounty hunter. He's got a mark to deal with. There's a little surprise. Oh, good Lord, it's a baby, and he's troubled about this. We get a snippet of his background story of how he suffered as a child. I mean, it seems to be that probably his whole family got wiped out in some horrific battle or what have you. And so when it comes to the point of just being a cold-hearted bounty hunter, the child was to be killed, and he ends up killing IG-88 instead to stop this, and takes the kid under his care. And does he still intend to turn him over to his payer? I don't know. But and of course, surprise, surprise, it's a baby Yoda. And that was all fascinating and whatnot. And also the revelation that it takes a long time for Yodas to grow up. He's still a baby at 50. Although, that's kind of accurate for our times, isn't it? Yes, there's a lot of infantilizing going on. But that's another story. Anyway, so the next one, he's got this child. And oddly enough, there is a kind of explanation they probably should have used. Because one of the things that was a little nitpicky about the previous episode, where they do this scene where he has to break this animal in order to be able to ride it, which is, again, playing into the template of the space western where, a cowboy would have to break a horse. And so here he has to do this. He says, oh, you got to ride this animal to get to the site. And yet, why not just fly the ship over there? But here, he gets back to his ship, and the Jawas are there. Yeah, another great nod to classic Star Wars. So there's the Jawas, and they're, of course, what do? They scavenge, they take stuff, and they're basically stripping his ship for parts and stealing all this stuff. And that's a great scene where he tries to get his stuff back, and he fights with them, and it looks like he's almost got the drop. Then they got the drop on him, and all this sort of thing. And you get more insight into their giant craft. I forget what the name of it. This is a rolling fortress, and but it might have been better had something like this had happened in the first episode, where God damn, our ship is, oh man, and he's well, I'll have to worry about that later, and then he has to ride out, or something that says the ship can't go there. Or a better idea would have been to say, well, they would detect your ship, and they'd know you're coming, and they'd probably shoot you out of the sky or what have you. So something like that, but it's just not there. But anyway, you get this great scene of him fighting with the Jawas. So, hey, how hard can it be? Well, there's a lot of them. And so it's really cool. Meanwhile, the little Yoda has quite taken to Mandalorian, and is following along in his flying cradle. Yeah, it flies. And all that's good. You kept thinking, someone's going to snatch up the kid, but it didn't happen. And he fails to get his stuff back. He goes back to, what's his name? Nolte's character. And he explains, well, the only way you can deal with him is to trade something. It's all there is to it. And so they go to meet with the Jawas, and they say, well, we'll take the kid. And he said, hell no, well, we'll take your armor. Oh, no, you're not taking that. So then, of course, what does he have to offer? It's his skills. So they want something, and it's some mysterious egg. And it turns out it's an egg from this very nasty, violent creature that I'm not sure, but it looks a lot like the one that Jango Fett was fighting in Attack of the Clones, and he ended up getting his head chopped off by Mace Windu. But it's a similar creature, and pretty much everything the Mandalorian does is pretty useless. At first, he goes into the deep dark cave, and it's quite a good lead up, and all of a sudden he realizes he's pretty much on top of the creature as its eye opens. It's kind of an old trick at this point, but still it works. And he gets his ass handed to him. And the problem is it's a very muddy area, and so his gun gets jammed and all this stuff, and he's pretty much losing the fight. And then we get the revelation that not only is Baby Yoda a Baby Yoda, but apparently is sensitive to the Force. It reaches out and basically captures the creature and keeps it pretty held up, floating. And this gives Mandalorian time to recover. He gets his knife ready, and you can shoot at the creature, but if you keep shooting at its horn, you're not going to get anywhere. And he'll swear, but apparently, and I'm guessing somehow, some way, Mandalorian understood the anatomy of this creature, that there's a weak spot behind it, like its neck, and so he stabs it there, and that does it. It kills the creature. And so then he's able to go into the cave and get the egg, but at the same time, he's like, whoa, man, there's something to this kid. I don't know what just happened here. So, of course, I immediately assume it's the Force. So they're going to reveal that Yoda people have telekinesis. I don't think so. That would mean that, boy, no wonder Yoda was so good with the Force. But no, I think he's one with the Force. Or she. Yeah, we don't know. So there's that. There's also a scene where it seemed to be a clue that there was something special about the obviously there's something special, but it's not just a random Yoda kid. But he kept trying to help Mandalorian. He'd had some injuries when he got jumped early on, and he had some wounds. And it was, well, do they have healing abilities or something like that? He said, no, he has the Force. So maybe I guess he's going to use the Force to heal him. I don't know if they've ever done that before. But anyway, he kept trying to tend to the wound, and he just kept putting the kid back in his cradle, saying, what are you doing? And so he knows the kid's special. He's already made the decision. He does not want to kill the kid. And if that's what his bosses want, then of course, things are going to, and probably, he's going to have to make a hard decision here. Well, it's obviously not that hard. Of course, you protect the kid, but he's not Boba Fett. I saw no evidence in and the films are more canon than anything else. So Boba Fett was more cold-hearted, and but we never saw him have to kill a child. So maybe that would have turned him to the light in that sort of situation had this just been Boba Fett. But what have you? And maybe by the end of the season we'll actually get the guy's name. I don't know, just the Mandalorian. There's a lot of them around. So, but anyway, trucking right along. 2 good episodes, rather solid, and again, its strength is in its simplicity of plot and and all that stuff, and giving you just basic adventure. And the music was a little better this time around. It seems like they amped it up a little here and there. Still not on par with John Williams, of course, but who can? And so all around very good. So it's a good feeling to have some good Star Wars. So Mandalorian seems to be a pretty good series, and yes, it's only 8 episodes, but that's probably a good thing. When you try to flesh it out, you get these idiot filler episodes because they just don't have the material for it. If all you've got is the material for 8 episodes, good. Keep it tight, keep it simple, keep it straightforward, and sprinkle it with the good stuff, like the Jawa battle, stuff like that. So, very simple, very good, and right on course it appears to be. So, this was good. So I do recommend The Mandalorian, and hopefully we can hope for it to get better. But if it stays as is, that's good enough. In an odd way, the terrible state of Star Wars at this moment actually kind of helps Mandalorian, because it doesn't have to be spectacular. It just has to be rather adequate. I mean that kind of puts a negative spin on it. I do like the show, and I think it's good. There are problems here and there and all that sort of stuff, But in the state we're in, of course, it appears to be even better than it probably really is. But nevertheless, good show. Check out The Mandalorian. All right. Thank you for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe? And check out that link description below. That'll take you to my many stores that have plenty of goodies for you.